Thanks for listening to Star Lores. If you like the show, please consider subscribing and giving a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also help us make more great content by becoming a patron at www.patreon.com. We would also love to hear from you on social media. You can follow Star Lores on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Enjoy the show, and may the Force be with you.
You are listening to the Star Lores podcast.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Are you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder?
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Millennial Falcon. Today is a very special episode and we have a special guest, but along with me are myself, Jordan, Christian, and Sam, the regular guys. But also we have...
We're regular on the show, but we're not regular. I don't know how Christian's bowels
We're not
are.
regular people.
No,
Christian's
you're
all
very
stopped up.
regular, very mediocre and average. Okay. So we have Tim with us. Hey, Tim.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Tim is he's an indie filmmaker here in Calgary. And he's made a number of award-winning short films, including War is Hell and a couple others. And Tim is also one of the co-creators of a viral Star Wars fan film called Rebel Scum.
Yes, indeed.
So I thought it'd be pretty
project.
cool to, I thought it'd be pretty cool to have Tim on the podcast to talk about Star Wars and film in general and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah,
So how's it going, Tim?
good. I'm surviving this COVID pandemic. One day people will listen back to this and then it'll be very dated because we're talking about COVID, Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about with COVID. What did we decide it was in galactic epidemiology? I think it's the blue wing virus or something.
Yeah, no, I'm doing fine. Just
drink your Bactaid and you'll
I'm
be
drinking
fine.
my Bactaid, nightly dipping in the back to tank, getting all
That's good
healed
too.
up. That's what we need is just back to tanks for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, just take a dip.
A chicken in every pot and a Bacta
Yeah.
tank in every med center.
Yeah.
That's the new 2020 running campaign for whatever office you want, and you'll get it.
When you run for the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the Galactic Empire.
Or the galactic.
He'll run for
Empire.
Chancellor of the United States and then turn it into
Supreme
an empire.
Chancellor
That's how it goes.
of the United States.
Have you guys talked about the Jar Jar Binks theory that
Darth
he's
Binks.
We're gonna save that for I think an episode where we're gonna
Okay.
talk about like.
that's like your
But you
an-
can.
Well,
you can bring
Tim's
it
kind
up.
of a good person to talk about this sort of thing with because it gets into like the fan fiction
Yeah.
universe of Star Wars.
yeah, fan fiction
Why
is
don't
like,
you give us a quick shot of the Darth Binks Star Wars theory?
Well, the theory is that Jar Jar Binks is like was like the Sith Lord behind it all. And like there was like and you know how like conspiracy theories go, it just takes like a nugget of something to run wild, but there was all of these like I also got all this information from a YouTube compilation, so I can't verify like how much of this is
It's
true.
kind of
but
good in a way. It's like
Yeah.
your brain
Isn't
is
that where
the
most
average.
There was like all these clues that George Lucas intended for Jar Jar Binks to be, like what's his name?
Darth Sidious.
No.
Chancellor
No,
Palpatine.
his name starts with it's a P, but yes, I'm not as hardcore of a Star Wars guy as you think I am. You know him, yeah. He's like
I think I know who you're talking
What's he look
Saint
like?
Pastage.
no. He's only mentioned Chancellor.
Plagius.
Yes, Plagius.
Oh, Darth Plagueis,
So
right.
it was rumored that Jar Jar Binks is Plagius, and they made so the theory is that George Lucas he intended for Jar Jar Binks to like look like such an idiot because they said, so someone studied Jar Jar Binks' movement, and it correlated really closely to like a form of like wushu or like some
Yeah, it was
kung
almost
fu
like
form.
drunken master.
Yeah, like drunken master stuff.
Yeah.
And the theory was, because George Lucas is so much into like Buddhism and Taoism, so the theory was that Jar Jar Binks was like this drunken Sith Lord master, and it would be revealed that he would be the Sith Lord.
In our episode 1 review, I did do a quick Jar Jar kill count in the Battle of Naboo, and he did get, I counted 5 kills.
He should have died.
In very quick succession.
Where he killed
he
things
killed
and it
like
shouldn't
5
have happened.
droids,
Yeah.
quote unquote, by accident.
So
Like using that sort of drunken style kung
so
fu.
he's like the drunken Sith Lord master, but because of how episode 1 was received so poorly and people just hated Jar Jar Binks, like they say that George Lucas had to completely go in a different direction because people just wouldn't take his work seriously anymore if Jar Jar Binks came out as a Sith Lord. So
I think
that
it
was
would have
the
been
theory.
a better redemption for Jar Jar than to just
would've.
be like an incompetent senator.
Yeah. I was really hoping in the reboot or the new trilogy they would have revealed Binks.
I was actually thinking how bad Jar Jar was, because isn't he the one who like introduced the bill to make Palpatine chancellor?
That's also
proof. That's what
part
I'm
of the
saying.
theory is that that Jar Jar is ultimately the person who's
pulling the strings.
politically
Puppet
directly
master.
responsible.
But even
for Palpatine's
even if he
ascendance.
isn't Darth Jar Jar, he's still a bad person in my opinion.
Yeah, like he just happened to stumble across these 2 Jedis on Naboo, right? Like he's getting in with them.
We all
He's
know there's
getting
no
close.
coincidences in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's all there. You just have to
You
look.
gotta connect the dots, man. It's like any good conspiracy theory is this string of vaguely correlated events you found on a YouTube video, and you're like, it all makes sense.
And then the moment where you're actually convinced. I think that's the best part of conspiracy theories, because something changed inside of you where you're like, I believe now.
Some part of you died.
Some part of you died. Something was birthed.
You can get to that place if you get a divorce or a DUI. It's also the same sort of place psychologically where you start turning that corner.
Really?
Yeah, I've also thought about, in some of the Star Wars comics, there was like bad guys who are sort of disinformation agents on the side of the Empire immediately after Palpatine's death, and they were sort of espousing conspiracy theorists but it was very clear that they were depicting them like the sort of David Icke reptilians are controlling the US government. That it's like this was the type of conspiracy these Imperial guys were telling about the Jedi and the Republic, right? Like the Republic is controlled by these space wizards with laser swords who can
Sacrifice babies and
these
secret
magical
temples.
things.
And it's a good thing we exterminated them.
So I do wonder what the space Alex Jones looks like. What species do you think Alex
man.
Jones would be? Would he be like?
He's like Boss Nass. He's a
Yeah.
he's a Gungan.
I'm also thinking though. Is it Rax? He's the guy from. I think he's first introduced in episode 2. He's got 4 arms and he's like green.
Dexter Jetster.
Is it Dexter?
He's
Dexter?
not green. He's like a blue color, but yeah.
But the 4
Obi-Wan. Yes.
I feel like he's a good
He would be a
Alex
good one,
Jones
too.
body
Yes.
type. Because Alex Jones is like big, right? But he's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
not. He's powerful though. Like he's not.
He has power.
You wouldn't want
It's
to mess
his,
with
it's
him.
his voice too. Yeah. So
He definitely doesn't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it's
yeah,
like-
yeah.
So, Tim, Rebel Scum. What inspired you to make that short film?
Well, Rebel Scum, we knew that they were like not like rebooting, but they were coming out with this whole new trilogy. So there's lots of Star Wars hype.
Sorry, what year did it come out? Did Rebel Scum come out?
Rebel Scum came out in 2015, if I remember correctly. No, 2016, I think.
It was before the prequels started coming,
Yeah.
or the sequels started coming out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they so we were kind of like what is it here? Yeah, it was Force Awakens. I think that came out in 2015. So we knew that was coming out. There was lots of Star Wars hype around like remaking the trilogy. So we
And
kind of
there's a lot of nostalgia hype too around it because
Yeah.
they were bringing back the classic characters and all that as well.
yeah, like people were going to see Leia again, Han Solo. So people are excited. People are probably going back watching Star Wars. It's kind of this new era. So
I definitely like as soon as the announcement hit, basically, I started reading all the Star Wars Legends novels again, and like
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
read Plagueis. That was the first one I got back into. Immediately after that, so
yeah,
I was
people are
definitely
like probably running.
fell victim to the nostalgia baiting. That,
Yeah, like how many people probably
did
did
so
Star
well.
Wars marathons leading up to The Force Awakens.
Oh yeah.
So we were like knew this wave was coming, so we kind of wanted to. We're kind of like being a little bit predictive and being like, there's probably going to be a lot of buzz online about anything Star Wars. So if we put out a Star Wars fan film right now, it might like get good response and kind of go viral a bit. Also, like we wanted to do another reason why we wanted to do Rebel Scum is it's set in Hoth, and we were like, what's not in the market right now? Everything is like a fan film about a Jedi in a forest because that's pretty.
Or a desert.
Or a desert, yeah. Something that like, you know, is close by and doesn't take a whole lot to do. So we just wanted to do. And also we didn't want to do something about a Jedi. We wanted to do a film that was just about the smaller players in, you know, the Star Wars universe.
But you didn't just pick Star Wars because it was like socially relevant. Like you have a history with Star Wars personally.
Yes,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
You grew up watching the movies, and
Yeah.
Tim and I, we've been friends for many, many years.
Do you have the Star Wars nerd cred? Is what Christian's asking.
Yeah. Are you just capitalizing on innocent Star Wars fans?
Are you a poser?
I'm not some director that Disney just hired who knows nothing about Star Wars. No, yeah, like we were deeply rooted, steeped in the Star Wars culture and history. We would just like read all the books, novels. One thing I really loved was just like reading those. They would have like these books that have just like data diagrams of like blasters and
It was the
you know,
Essential Guide.
Yes, the essential guidebooks, and they had that for everything, species, and so that was
Yeah.
like really fun to do as a kid. So this was like it's kind of a dream come true to actually like just make a Star Wars movie, and to have it actually like kind of received like by the Star Wars like audience out there. And when we put it out there, we were kind of it's scary to like release something Star Wars and then you know the fans will just like eat it up if it's not there, you know, or accurate or whatnot. But it was pretty well received, and yeah, grateful for the.
Is there like a Star Wars, like, because you kind of were you like trying to match the Star Wars filmmaking style of like the original
Yes.
trilogy? Yeah.
Yes.
Like, how would you do that?
So I kind of rewatched the trilogy again, and I studied like the camera work, things that like people might not think makes it Star Wars, but that do. So a lot of Star Wars was filmed on sticks, or they call tripods, right? Because it was in the old days, they had really heavy cameras. Nothing was handheld, so everything was like static. So a lot of things are just like long shots. And what I love about the long shots, you just absorb all that, the costumes, their setting, and that's another thing that really makes Star Wars is just the setting, that far, far away galaxy. So we applied those techniques to Rebel Scum. We also like the camera and kind of the color grading. We really tried to mimic it as close to the originals.
I was going to ask, did you shoot on film or digital?
No, it would have been.
You weren't that hardcore. You
Way
didn't
too
get a
expensive.
90-pound.
The environment we filmed it in was just so hostile that Christian was also there for that.
Yeah,
So
I was
just
helping in the
Iceland.
camera
It's not that. It's
Yeah,
not
it
that
was-
remote or
crew.
exotic.
The Columbia ice fields.
yeah, it was very cold. So we, if we did shoot on film, we couldn't risk.
I think on the coldest days, what did it hit -30?
Yeah,
did it
it
get
was.
that cold?
Yeah, the coldest days it was -30. Plus
Celsius,
there's wind
yeah,
chill.
which
It was like on a mountain glacier. So
Yeah.
like we had fresh wind chill coming down, and it was like
Yeah,
pretty.
you had
hard.
to like trudge through snow with all the gear and everything to get to the spot you actually wanted to shoot. it's funny because just reading the YouTube comments, you should never read the YouTube comments, but reading the YouTube comments, there are so many people who don't believe that you shot on location.
I know people
It's
like
like-
this green screens. Is like,
It's hilarious. They're like, no, there's no like you can't see the mist or steam coming
they
out of their
can't see their
mouth.
breath and
Like they were so adamant that we did not shoot on location, and that's
so
something you
funny.
stress is that like we actually went to a snowfield.
we even
and,
have
like,
literal
suffered.
behind the scene pictures on our website.
Yeah,
And yeah,
people just refuse to believe.
Yeah.
I just found it so funny.
That is hilarious.
That is hilarious, actually. But it's funny. Like we've all been to that location. If you
Yeah.
live in
Yeah.
Calgary, most people have been to that location, right? It's
The
not
funny
like-
thing is, those are also the same commenters who are commenting on the moon landing videos. And going,
Probably.
that's
Yeah.
fake. That was done in the studio.
I know what Buzz Aldrin feels like now. I've been there. I've seen it.
yeah. So I don't know. I like the people who matter. They get it, and they can like the comments I get where people kind of see. Another thing too that people didn't understand was like they looked at the animation of like the probe droid or the AT-AT, and they're like, oh man, that like CGI is awful. You know, that looks so bad. But we did real stop motion with like real models, and we purposely
Not CGI.
Yeah, we purposely
Yeah.
made it look clunky because we wanted it to mimic
No,
like
it was
how
like
it
the
looked.
original.
And people loved it. They were
Yeah.
like, that's literally like from the movie, you know, like how it's moving. And so yeah.
It was actually your guys' brother, Jordan and Sam's brother.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
did the motion cap, or not the motion capture, the stop motion.
That's right.
For
yeah.
it. Yeah.
There's
How
a,
long
there's a,
did
there's
it
a blood
take?
tie here. So me and Josiah worked on it for maybe, I don't know. like-
Just the stop motion animation segment.
yeah, that took like, Josiah would know better, but maybe like 6 months. Yeah. Just in a garage. And
For what, like 30 seconds of footage?
Yeah,
or
there's not that
something?
much footage.
it
of
was but
right?
we had to go in, we went a whole extra mile. So there's like a video on our YouTube channel that explains how we did the stop motion, because it wasn't just stop motion. We like Josiah built this technology is like just becoming like popular now, but Josiah, like, I don't want to say he thought of it first because that would be crazy, but his idea was like, let's build like a light box and project like photographs, like a 360 photograph that we took on the day when we were filming there. And then the ATST miniature is in the light box. Sorry, AT-AT is in the light box. Yeah, the ATA-ATA. And then we project the images onto the light box, and then it gives like an accurate lighting. So it's not just like we're trying to mimic lighting, it's the identical lighting to the day we were filming. So in order to get that with the stop motion, we had to like do it twice, the animation twice. And we decided to like do the stop motion in a really, we did like extra frames than was required. So it took like double the time.
Let me just be the first to say that I don't believe you did any of that. None of it is real.
Yeah, show me some documentation.
Couldn't see the breath on the AT-AT.
Another thing I kind of noted, which I thought made it almost distinct from a lot of other Star Wars fan films, is actually the lack of dialogue in a good way that existed. Was there like a reason for that, or you just didn't want to? It's kind of hard to get like really good actors who can who can do dialogue well on film, or was it like creative limitations, or was it you actually intended to do that?
Yeah, there was like two things. One was creative limitations. So my older brother Paul, he's like a screenwriter. He wasn't so much available at this time to help me on this project. So I am like a writer, but I wouldn't say like writing dialogue is like my strength. Like I'm more so directing and, on the post-production side of things. So all of the short films I've made have very little dialogue, but so much of like communication is nonverbal anyways, right? Like you pick up so much. So that's what I like to do with actors, is that you can you're communicating just in a completely different level with the audience. And yeah, that's like something else that some people commented too. It's like there's like literally no lines, but it was like still well done. Also, I just thought like it's in a survival situation. Like he's also alone. Who's he going to talk to other than the snowtrooper? But yeah.
It seems like it would be a tall order creatively to try to write dialogue for a Star Wars film as well. I feel
people
like
do it though.
I know they do, but I just feel like there's
And they do it way too much.
Yeah.
there's just no winning.
It's
You know
kind of
what
a
I mean?
crutch too, because anytime in a film it's something is compensating, it's because they weren't able to like do something else really well necessarily. And I don't want to like hate on. I think genuinely like
There are some other decent fan films.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, the most egregious thing I find in a lot of Star Wars fan films is the dialogue. And it's just like people who are kind of weak actors, right? And so it's
And I don't know the Star Wars fan film scene that well, but is there a sense that it's like a lot of that dialogue is also just exposition?
yes.
yeah,
Like it doesn't even need to be
exactly.
in there in the first place.
Yeah. That's a big problem when people like try to write. They don't think of subtext. They don't think of like all that stuff. They tell the news. They don't like tell a story. So it's like, oh, we got to go to here because we got to do this. And, and then, oh my God, you're my father.
Sounds just like the sequel trilogy. To be honest, exposition dump dialogue.
Yeah. And again, that's where, so for example, like a case could have been in even one of the newer trilogy is that they shot something and then they edited it and they were like, this makes absolutely no sense. We need to go back and reshoot this scene and add in some exposition to explain.
I really felt like, sort of as a writer, anybody watching the Star Wars sequel trilogy, you could really see the seams. And then it's like, this is not quite fitting together properly.
Yeah. There's some bad flaws.
It's like boom mics constantly coming into frame or something. It's just like, ooh.
Yeah, it's like a Monty Python film or something. But not on purpose.
That'd actually be funny to see a Star Wars version of Monty Python. Yeah.
That would be great. So, I'm just curious, is there anything in terms of filming specifically like the Star Wars genre as opposed to any other film? Is there like a specific challenge that it presented as opposed to, War is Hell or any of your other films?
I think films just period can be really challenging depending on what it is. A lot of our films are like historical or, we don't do like a film where it's like, two people in a coffee shop or like in an apartment. We want to kind of give people an elevated experience, more like high concept content. Obviously we can't do it on a massive budget. So we try to like kind of make our sandbox and just play in it, but do the story really well. So Star Wars, you really got to try to nail down, I think, the costumes really well. Because there's a lot of like cosplay stuff out there, but you can tell when like something is not lived in,
I definitely wanted to ask about the costumes,
Yeah.
which looked very good. And of course, the costumes are huge.
Yeah, the costumes were probably one of the best things of the film. They look so legit. Where'd you get them?
Yeah,
and that's
so-
like the same thing for all the Star Wars, right? Is that but then there's a second layer that I really appreciate about the Star Wars costumes that like Bosk's outfit, I think, was just a random repurposed pilot costume from another film on the lot. And so there's a lot of weird stuff like that. Are there any...
All the guns are World War II guns. That
Exactly.
That's right.
So are there any funny stories like that with how you do your costumes? Because I imagine you actually sourced it. You didn't just get some cosplaying kit off eBay.
So the
Or Etsy, I suppose.
I built the binoculars I built myself. So our younger brother Daniel, he's like a production designer, so that he does a lot in costumes and props, but he wasn't here with us, so I've worked with him on quite a few of our projects, and so I kind of had the technique down. So I built the binoculars myself. The helmet was a kit that they're probably the most well-known like guys who build like helmets for rebels or Imperials. Like they build for like the 501st, right? The group.
Yeah, the 501st is the costume club.
Yeah, but they're like,
And this
they're
is like a
legit. They're not like
cosplaying
just
company.
some cosplay people. They're pretty.
They get pretty bang on with like movie.
Yeah, it has to be
references.
absolutely screen accurate. So and then the Snow Trooper costume was a 501st member who donated his precious, and they're really rare
Yeah, I
snowtrooper
bet.
costumes.
And they're probably expensive.
It's very expensive to
Yeah.
put together. So he was such a
It
saint.
was a snow trooper, right?
Snowtrooper, yeah, yeah. Everyone does like stormtroopers, but snowtroopers are pretty rare.
You know, Dengar,
Yes,
the bounty hunter. His also another costume story is that the reason he has the costume he does is it was
Yeah.
just another random thing
Sure.
left over. They
Yeah.
didn't know what to put him in. They're like, put a coat of grace, spray paint on it. And then, of course, in the backstory, Dengar was like an Imperial sniper and
Yeah.
had this grudge against the Empire.
yeah, just goes crazy. So yeah, that costume. It was like we were getting really close to our date when we were starting to roll the camera, and we did not have a snowtrooper costume. So I was like madly on like Star Wars forums in Alberta, and I was like, "Yo, like, does anyone have a snowtrooper costume?" And he, the owner, like messaged me. He's like, "Yeah, I think I could loan it to you guys for like the shoot." And he came out on the shoot too, and we also broke his costume like many times because it was so cold.
Oh, my
He was such a
goodness.
saint. He would like fix it, and he even like he had like multiple blasters, and he was like
Yeah.
gave us like a one to throw around and like a more screen accurate one. And
Yeah.
so the movie would not have been possible without him. So that was like a big thing. Yeah,
That's sort of like an interesting dynamic of even being kind of an indie filmmaker, right? Is you really have to scrap to get all the stuff you need,
Yeah.
especially in terms of props, and especially if you're trying to do a brand that's already very established.
Yeah,
You know, you
and
want to
it's so
try and be
recognizable.
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it really takes a lot of effort and drive to do that. So
Yeah.
kudos.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else want?
Just on the music front, at some point I want to do a special on music and Star Wars, but
That'd be fun.
the music that you chose, did you choose all the music for
Yes.
Rebel Scum? Do you want to talk
Yeah.
a little bit about what your choices were and why? And
Yep.
yeah.
So it was Gustav Holst is a composer, and he has like his most well-known orchestration is The Planets. You might recognize it from Gladiator. You know that like dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, like it's a famous Gladiator bit. They got sued because they didn't actually like try to get licensing. He just
Is it not in the
Hans
public
Zimmer
domain?
No, but the orchestration rights still is in public domain, I
okay.
believe. Yeah. So, anyways, they tried to sneak one past whoever owns the rights to The Planets, but anyways, so the whole So you asked when did this idea come from? I heard one of Gustav Holst's songs on the radio, and I was like, this sounds a lot like Star Wars, but it's not Star Wars. And then I was like, why not make a Star Wars film? Okay, another thing that sets
It's all like dominoes.
yeah,
just-
yeah. Another thing that sets like Star Wars films apart is the music too, because nothing that John Williams score, it's just so Star Wars. You need that grand orchestration. So I was like fortunate to have heard The Planet and then try to pair that together with like our version of a Star Wars film. So it sounds that I think really helped sell the Star Wars feel too was the music that we used. And we just paid for like the orchestration rights or the recording,
Yeah.
for it. Yeah.
You like licensed it.
Yeah. So we could actually use Star Wars,
So is it
Star
actually-
Wars the music, and we didn't have to because that's another thing that kind of is really tough is that when you're on a really low budget, people they do the music themselves but
Yeah.
you can't beat like a full orchestra, the real sound. It's really tough. So
Right.
yeah.
So the music itself almost inspired the entire film.
Yeah,
to
I would say
begin
so.
with.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Was there any other lore or mythos that you really drew upon in that film specifically? Like, what was kind of your inspiration specifically within the Star Wars universe? What was your inspiration for that film?
Yeah. It's when you watch Empire Strikes Back and you see like the rebels leaving and you know that there's like a group of rebels who stayed behind to let them go. That's like such a cool story, I think. The man who is left behind.
There's a Marvel Star Wars story.
Okay.
In the comic books, where that's what happened to Wedge Antilles immediately.
Yeah.
After Hoth he got stuck letting people go, and so there's like this sort of survival story of
Nice.
like him versus the elements, and then him versus some space pirates.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Pays off that premise. But it's a great example of how many moments there are in the Star Wars universe, and like how alive it is, because you could automatically make like 700 great stories just from that premise of the guys who stayed behind on Hoth, right?
And that happens a lot, right? Like they talk about the Death Star plans. I made a whole movie on that. You know, you talk about the Bothan spies. Hopefully, maybe we'll see something come of that, right? But
yeah.
these throwaway lines turn into these like
nether rot. That's what
that's what happened. Yeah, but yeah, you can take these little snapshots and like build such a big story on just like a throwaway line, essentially.
Yeah.
But tell us more about your inspiration on that front. Like why?
Yeah.
It was just the environment. Like, okay, we'll do Hoth.
Yeah, Hoth was cool. I always, thought about those poor souls who
got left behind,
lost their lives to the Empire, or
you mean terrorists that were justifiably
those rebels. I don't know. We built it off the line to Rebel Scum, and we thought it'd be like interesting to tell a story why it is the Imperial's viewpoint of why these guys are so dirty, right? Because maybe some of them are really dirty, are like, if you
dirty fighters.
I won't spoil the film, but if you watch it, you'll kind of see why. Like, it lives up to its name, Rebel Scum.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was just kind of a story of like basically a soldier who, was left behind in a war and is trying to get home. I mean, it's not like that story has never been told before. It's just completely original, because it's not.
But it is cool because you're meshing almost like a war film and a Star Wars within like the Star Wars universe, which I think is yeah.
That's another reason why I love Rogue One. Yeah.
But you did it first.
Yeah.
They probably stole the idea from you.
Well, there was in what's the one in between The Last Jedi? No. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Last Jedi.
Those were not stop motion AT-ATs.
No, they were not. But there's a line where who's the that stormtrooper general in Chrome?
Phasma.
Oh yeah, Captain
Phasma.
Captain Phasma.
Captain Phasma. So there's a line where so they use that line Rebel Scum a lot in that movie. And then there's a line,
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, there's a line where before she's killed,
it's one of the more cringy parts in the movie.
Yeah, it's a kind of a cringy.
The way
moment.
they use it is cringy, but they're obviously trying to lampoon off of like I don't know if lampoon's the right word, but like mirror the use of the term Rebel Scum, which does come up in the original trilogy.
Yeah,
but.
exactly, and that's kind of what we built our short film off of. And then there's a line where she like her helmet's off, and then she says to Finn, like, "You Rebel Scum," but it was almost like a mirrored exactly from our short film.
So you're saying
the moment, but yeah,
Ryan Johnson watched your film and he's like lifting.
Well,
hey, they stole enough from everything else. Why not?
Hey,
also dip into the fan fiction universe.
Honestly, I would not be surprised if they like pull content from what's out there.
Interestingly enough, the current, it's kind of like a side note, the current Marvel comics have been caught stealing fan-built digital models and just using them in their comic books instead of actually putting art out. It's actually really interesting.
Wow.
So they have been actually like, I mean, legally, I don't know, because you're right. Yeah. If they're
this
really
was already our content in the first place.
right, exactly.
So-
But there is a precedent. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah.
It honestly, like,
Since Kathleen Kennedy said that, she said specifically that we're not taking any story beats from previous extended universe materials. No comics, no novels. We're making it all up.
She said specifically they didn't have any content.
And when like literally one of the title characters from your movie, Ben Solo. You just changed his last name because Luke's kid was named Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just cue the Mari meme, and that was a lie.
Nothing surprises me about
yeah,
their writing process.
And even
anymore,
even
is
to
what
that
I'm saying.
point, right? Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of production people on a Star Wars film, right? Someone could have just
Oh, yeah.
said, "Hey, it may not have even
saw
been
this thing,
the
you know,
director,
on
right?
YouTube,
It was just
yeah.
he's like, "Hey, let's do this little thing and put it in there," right? And the director was like, "Okay." And you know, that production person could have easily seen your film, and your film, I think, has over 2 million views right now. You know, so it's not like it would be that hard to find.
Once
Yeah.
this thing drops, it's going to be like 2,000,001
Oh
views.
boy.
Yeah. Yeah, but it kind of interesting. Some more conspiracy theories. Did
Was
did
it Darth
Disney-
Banks? Darth Mickey?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tell us about the actors.
So, is this fine if I share it? You're not
Yeah.
like protecting her
Go
identity.
ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So Christian
I
was.
don't know what is about to be revealed, but there are some very knowing, intimate looks.
Oh,
just,
that's-
The
exchanged.
truth is, Christian played the female
Stormtrooper.
snowtrooper.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makeup is the makeup artist was a genius.
Yeah.
on the
Wow.
Set.
And he still had his beard on, so it was all like prosthetics.
Oh my goodness.
No, the two actors we had, Andre and Annie, and they were really great. Annie is Christian's wife, but they met for the first time on our set, and they
That's
fell in
not
love.
true.
I performed
That
the
is
marriage.
not true.
She was
Wow.
in full
He
snowtrooper.
officiated
Did
the
you
wedding.
do it in Jedi regalia?
Yes,
You like-
yeah, I
We
did.
identify
robes
as,
on.
as Jedi.
Yeah, it was great to work with them. I think a lot of our projects, again, with just high concept content, it kind of drives the bar a little bit higher than normal. Like it's not just, like I said, not just in a coffee shop comfortably.
That's part of your elevator pitch, right? It's like
yeah.
we really drive the bar a little bit higher than normal.
So it's set, it's on an ice field. It was minus 30. She was sitting in on ice for like, I don't know, 10, 12 hours, like just completely in that position. And
Wow.
when she got up, like the ice was just completely frozen over her pants. Like it was just falling off in chunks. They were stiff. Like if you had like a pair of pants and you like got them wet and you threw them outside and they would just stand up. Like that's what they were like when she got out of costume.
Did it ever become like sort of you had the thought maybe this is medically becoming a little bit dangerous? Somebody could get
I think she was
frostbite?
close to like hypothermia. Probably she was like it really suffered a lot, but she did an incredible job too. I must say. And so
That's what
did
makes
Andre.
good art is suffering.
It's pain. That's right.
I was
You
going to
can't
say, are you
have-
like that German director who
like
made Werner Herzog? Was it Werner Herzog? He made the movie about the
steamboat?
steamboat,
Yeah, that's
right?
crazy.
And he held his actors there at gunpoint. Is that your style? Klaus Kinski, I think, or was that the actor?
No, Werner Herzog. Yeah.
Was it Werner Herzog?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you hold them at gunpoint? Is what I'm asking to get her to do
At
that.
a blaster point. That's
Blaster
Herzog,
point.
Yeah.
incidentally, acts in The Mandalorian too.
That's
It
right.
all comes full circle.
Acquisition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is kind of, it actually, in a weird way, it almost adds like a dynamic to the acting, right? Because
Oh, yeah.
the conditions are so harsh. You're actually almost not even acting.
Yeah.
When you have to have that distress.
Live suffering.
Yeah.
It's like live leaks. Just raw pain.
Are you a Sith Lord? Maybe
See, I say that's kind of cheating if you rely on that as an actor, though.
It helps
you know?
though.
If it's real trauma, that doesn't count. You're not acting. That's why they
Yeah.
call it acting.
So like
You're cheating if you were traumatized.
Jordan and Christian, they've all been in my films. There's a legendary one that we did about the Lord of the Rings. So that might pique some of your fans' interest, which is not released, but
I don't
they've
know
all-
if anyone will ever discover that.
But Jordan was Legolas and Christian was Halfir for a brief moment. But you didn't really have the suffering too much. But Jordan, he literally was on production for an entire year. and we had some pretty.
Was it
bad.
that long?
Yeah, we filmed for a
Wow.
whole year.
It was
every
long,
weekend for a year.
They took a whole year of his life.
We did. We sapped it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, it was fun. It was like a good learning experience. I almost wish I took more advantage to learn stuff while I was there, but whatever. Hindsight's 2020. Is there?
Well, I admit too, there was some bad days. Like,
Yeah,
yeah. Like you look back and you only remember like the good stuff, anyways. So
yeah. It's one of those things where even though like it's almost like you're almost proud of it because it was hard.
Yeah.
Right. Like, the reason people like run marathons and stuff, it's just
The payoff.
yeah, the payoff of doing something hard. Sorry, I had a question here. From like a filmmaking perspective, is there, of all the Star Wars films that have been released, is there one that like just from in terms of the art of filmmaking, is there one that like sticks out to you?
Empire Strikes Back is like my favorite of all time, and I think that one it's good because it kind of, I don't know, it gets dark and things get really interesting. Stakes are raised, yeah, you have that awesome cliffhanger moment at the end when Luke finds out his origin. And yeah, I don't know. Also, like George Lucas, this is a very old interview, but he said that he built Star Wars. He only wanted to do the first one. This is not old Luke, because this is like young. I'm full of ideas and hope.
Not jaded and billionaire.
So he just wanted to
rancher.
make Star Wars to set the premise, set the stage.
He just
aliens,
has a single hope, and
one
it's
hope.
new.
Yeah, and it was new.
It's a novel hope.
Yeah. So he did that, and then, but his whole desire was to like let other directors make other Star Wars movies to see their interpretation, because he was like, maybe someone can do Star Wars better than I could. So you see that in like Empire Strikes Back, and I even really like Return of the Jedi. Yeah.
Have you heard the story of George Lucas trying to hire David Lynch to direct The Empire Strikes Back?
I don't know all the details,
I think
but
that would have
been insane.
amazing to see the David Lynch
version.
Yeah.
Darth Vader just melts into a clock at the end and falls off.
Who was it that ended up directing Empire?
I can't remember.
Man, he leaves such a mark on the Star Wars universe, and no one even remembers his
unknown.
name. The unknown hero.
He's
Yeah, it's like the best Star Wars film, pretty much.
Interestingly,
Irvin Kushner.
yeah, he's like he's done some fairly big name movies, although none come to mind because I'm not that much of a film buff. David Lynch did then direct, I think it was even maybe later that year, the first Dune movie, which was
kind of a failure, though.
It was a failure, but it's interesting. That's another cool tie-in to Star Wars is the first Dune movie that was made by a Spanish filmmaker called something Jodorowsky, and there's Jodorowsky's Dune. It's a documentary about it, but the first Dune, basically all the guys who worked in special effects and creature effects and wardrobing and stuff, a lot of them worked on Jodorowsky's Dune, and then their next gig was working on Star Wars. But because Jodorowsky's never actually went into production, they just took a whole bunch of the sets and costumes and stuff from Dune initially, which is also super interesting because Dune is sort of has put a signature into the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah.
Do you have is there anything that you would like to see in like the future Star Wars films in terms of like storytelling or filmmaking?
That's a big question, because I don't know. It's
Is
hard.
there like a return to or something new you would like to see?
I would like to see. This is like why fans are so divided on all. Some people love the new stuff, some people don't, because some people, they just want like, give me what's familiar, But also, I think you have to tell a new story. But I would do it in like still a familiar way, in a setting that people like, I really value that kind of dystopian future where everything's falling apart, and I love that the Millennium Falcon is just in pieces, and it's a real like, I don't know. I think the new stuff is kind of just, it's very flashy. Also, though, what's funny is like I remember not liking necessarily episode 1, and I was hating on it and Phantom Menace, and then now I have a sense of nostalgia for it. Weirdly, like there's scenes that I.
So, what do you kind of feel about like the sequels, the prequels, and the original trilogy? Like, how would you kind of rank them, for lack of a better word? You don't have to do like, you could just say like, obviously, if you said Empire's your favorite, you probably have greater ties to the original trilogy.
What's your favorite prequel?
I think I would say Rogue One, and not because I don't.
You didn't even go that far back.
Okay, if we're talking about like movies that are,
I zig and you zag.
oh, sorry, you said okay prequel like before.
Okay,
This
that's
is
how
where
I'm
my
gonna
film-
play.
Hold
it.
on. Let's say Christian's original question was like, of the 3 trilogies, how would you rank them?
Of the 3 trilogy. Okay, so trilogy by trilogy. Okay, so oh man. Okay, that's because there's some bad ones in the prequels. Okay, clearly the originals first. You know what? I would have to say the new ones are second, and then the prequels, because Attack of the Clones, and I did like
Revenge of the Sith.
though. So I don't know. There's good qualities in
But
different ones.
you seem to like, all in all, you're probably in the OG crew, original
Yes.
trilogy crew.
Yeah.
Like that is Star Wars to you. I remember you guys were really into the Legends stuff even back then. Like you knew, who Mara Jade was. You knew about Thrawn. You knew about all these like stories as they were coming out.
Yeah.
And like you said, that's the kind of stories you're familiar with. That falling apart, worn out galaxy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's a cool, like it's a lived in world. And when things are, that's what kind of makes it very believable, because real life is grimy and gritty like that. Yeah, I don't know. There's glimmers in the sequels that I do appreciate and I value, but like we were talking about, there was some really tragic storytelling and writing, and just literal like disasters that Disney was like trying to fix, because it's a tent pole movie, like they have to put so much money
every
into
single one, I think, fell into that production hell limbo of whenever productions change hands.
Yeah, it's
whenever
disastrous.
directors or writers change hands mid-production, there's
And
like
how
no
many-
saving that film.
Yeah,
Basically,
they went through so many directors too. Like it's so hard. You have to let him kind of do his vision. So like J.J. Abrams was kind of like their repairman, where he's just like needing to
from
fix
Colin
it.
Trevorrow, who is supposed to do that.
Yeah, who was first supposed to do it? Was it J.J. Abrams?
No, it was Trevorrow.
It-
Right.
like
He was originally supposed to
Oh,
do
I
Rise
see.
of Skywalker. Yeah.
and so JJ was the fix it
yeah.
man to clean up that mess, and even JJ couldn't do it.
Yeah,
and JJ made his own mess too. Some might argue.
and they needed to make it very broad, because it's like they have to appeal to such a big market, so they're trying to shove in everything and anything just to like please everyone, like fans, new fans, people who have special interests. So it's
Literally putting shiny things in to get the toddlers, like Captain Phasma. I've never seen a more clear like native product placement in my life. It's like,
Well, I thought the craziest one, most obvious one was the what do you call it, Last Jedi, with the what do you call them, the little porgs. Yeah. That was just like, okay, that's clearly supposed to be like a toy.
yeah. There's like a huge so when they're structuring film financing, a major component is it's like ancillary, I think.
Yeah.
I might not be saying the word right.
ancillary.
Deals where like
Yeah.
they'll get a massive amount of cash if they can make toys.
They need
so
all
like
this
they're literally
merchandise,
they take into all their marketing into account, all
and you can't
sales into
unfortunately
account.
put a Coke can in like a ghost
Yeah,
right.
Mary Poppins hand in her deep faked have her deep fake drink a Pepsi. Wouldn't make sense in Star Wars unless
Yeah.
you wrote it in Orabesh.
Well, and on that note too, so I was just doing. I got some Lego for my nephew for his birthday. I got him some Star Wars Lego, and even just looking in the aisle, I'm telling you, man, like 80 to 90% of it was all the old stuff, and like almost no new, like new Star Wars merchandise from like
Yeah.
the new stuff. The
Wow.
only one in the Lego section that I saw that was new Star Wars was the Mandalorian and the baby or the child.
Interesting.
Yeah, and like everything else was like all from the original, and there was one from Obi-Wan and Anakin Lego set. But I just thought it was like, and I've noticed that quite a bit looking at like they can't even sell the merch from like, at least not the toys and the Lego. It seems like everyone just wants all the original toys and Lego still.
I do know a kid about our nephew's age though who does have a whole bunch of the whole new
I'm
Disney
sure.
canon.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
I'm not sure how representative they are of
I'm just saying anecdotally.
it would be interesting though if they just had warehouses full of Kylo Rens that nobody wants.
Yeah.
A whole clone army.
Maybe Disney should just do like a new Toy Story movie that's just with Star Wars
Yeah.
action figures.
Yeah.
So, would you ever do another Star Wars project if I don't know, who knows what the future would hold? Maybe you got a bunch of money for it, or would you ever do it? Or just as a passion project, would you ever do
Yeah,
it?
totally. Yeah. I think I would do maybe the sequel to Rebel Scum, because a lot of people
Yeah.
have written stories about what happened afterwards. Like
Oh,
fan
really?
fiction, yeah.
Man, I'd love to read some of that.
Yeah, people were like emailing us and being asking for permission, and they wrote all the backstory of what happens, and it's pretty cool. Like people like that's what's kind of cool is like they've actually absorbed it as canon. For some people, like they see this rebel pilot as a real character in Star Wars, or this the snowtrooper. So I think it would be cool to explore like what happens to him. Does he join the Empire? Does he go home? Does he join the rebellion again?
Yeah, that's kind of a cool, like, even like a fan film breeding even more fan fiction, right?
Yeah.
Because the fan film itself is a form of fan fiction that
Yeah.
you created.
Like say hypothetically if it created like a fan podcast and then the hypothetical listeners to that podcast then like listen to it and
This
send
fan fiction about you
send
guys.
fan fiction where I'm Han
Furry
Solo.
art.
Jordan's not Han Solo. I'm supposed to be flying the Millennium Falcon. I came up with the name just hypothetically. It's
So
not
in
what
this
it
Millennium
is.
Falcon, what are the roles? Who's Han? Who's Chewie?
Well, technically, I guess we have photographic evidence that Jordan's Han. So
I just put whatever picture fit with the thing. This image hasn't even come out yet, but it's going to be a promotional piece that's coming out. Someone's a little bit burned, a little bit chafed about it, it sounds like.
Yeah.
It's
hypothetically, that is not me.
the
I was-
Millennial Falcon.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so.
I really hope there's a large contingent of people who've like listened to every episode and thought that we were saying the Millennium Falcon the whole time, and we just blew their mind.
Millennial Falcon.
No, it's the Millennial Falcon.
Yeah.
There's your merch right there.
Yeah.
There's your branding.
Actually,
Yeah. It would be cool to do another one, I think.
Yeah.
I also bought this.
what if hypothetically somebody who did a fan podcast hypothetically talked to a guy who
Had a lot of money?
hypothetically swords and stuff, and he's hypothetically making like a character from the Tales of the Jedi their actual sword, and hypothetically I might have that soon. And
That
would
is
you do a
like-
Tales of the Jedi fan film?
That's like every cosplayer's dream to be like, because they're already dancing. Like,
Have their stuff.
In
they're
a
doing their
loincloth.
stuff at
Hypothetically.
cosplay. They're living their dreams. So if they were in a Star Wars movie, that would be like a dream come true for them. Yeah. It would be like, people who,
the entire 501st.
yeah.
So, are you working on any new projects right now?
We are, yeah. We have a few projects in development.
few.
Not Star Wars, but
Yeah.
we have a few going.
You don't
so.
only do exclusively Star Wars, is what you're
No,
saying?
no.
Okay.
That was another thing when this came out. People assumed that we were
That
just
you're
Star
just
Wars
uber
fans.
Star Wars
Yeah,
fans.
they're just like
And that's
Star
you
Wars
live and
fans
breathe.
who are just kind of really good at this. But
No, they're as nerdy as you imagine. It's just not about Star Wars.
Yeah,
it's about
yeah.
film in general.
Yeah,
but they're-
film in
They
general.
are that nerdy though.
but we kind of right away got
How many inhalers do you own?
too many.
One
Yeah.
for every fanny pack for every day of the week.
Yeah, for every hour of the day. Yeah, we have a few other projects going on. It's not Star Wars related. The Rebel Scum was really an inner nerd surge that just came to the surface. But yeah, that's what we're doing.
Is there anything you can talk about, or do you like to keep it kind of under wraps until you have your reveals?
We just have to keep it under wraps for now because they're just in development, but more can be revealed. We do have a website. Our production company is Blood Brothers Cinema. You can find us on Facebook or our website, and that's probably the best way if people are interested.
And you have a YouTube channel.
And YouTube, yeah.
Where you can watch
With 2 million
Rebel Scum.
views to see Rebel Scum. If you haven't seen Rebel Scum,
What's
watch
your
it.
YouTube channel?
Blood Brothers Cinema.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So just search, probably even if you Google search Rebel Scum, it'll come up.
It'll come up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anything else you want to plug there, or is that about it?
Subscribe to this podcast. I'm sure you already do. Yeah.
We're not holding him at blaster point to say that.
If you're a big fan of us and a big fan of Rebel Scum, in the comments you should write
Yeah.
some special sort of Easter egg, like,
because then you're
Yeah.
like, you listen.
so
and
the
you can't
Empire did nothing wrong. That's what you should write. The Empire did nothing wrong in the comments.
make the Empire great again.
And we'll know where you're at. We'll know you're true. You got nerd cred.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, thanks for joining us, Tim.
Thank
This
you for
was
having
awesome.
me.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
Fun.